North Carolina legislators have been spending some time this spring debating the federal health care law. One person in Raleigh's Affordable Health Care Act is another person's Obamacare. To some, this federal health care law is a step towards bestowing the right of health care access on everyone. To others, it's a bankrupting intrusion on the U.S. economy.
Fairly and accurately scored by a former CBO director, the ACA is expected to add $2 trillion to the federal deficit just in its first 2 decades. When we compare expected revenues against expected costs for all federal programs, our unfunded liabilities currently amount to $200 trillion, that's with a T, trillion dollars. That's the amount we would need in the bank today, earning the same rate of interest as a U.S. Treasury bill in order to have the funds to discharge all of our promises in the years ahead.
This is Duke University health policy expert Chris Conover. He tells legislators the Affordable Care Act could hurt nearly as many people as it helps, cause 90,000 job losses in North Carolina, and shift 300,000 full-time working North Carolinians into part-time work so companies can avoid employer mandate penalties. But Democrats are taking issue with this report.
I think if I owned a company and I could get a robot to do some of the workers' jobs, then I might let some of the workers go. Or if I could get the current employees to work harder and be more productive, I could let some of the workers go. But I think that I would be hiring employees based on my sales and not on whether they had health insurance or not. I don't know that there's any reason why the Affordable Care Act would cause a reduction in the number of employees.
There's 400 employers, including the state of Virginia, that have cut back on the hours of work for certain selected employees, and they have said the reason they're doing it is to avoid having to pay the mandate penalty. Okay. So these are part-time faculty at teaching at Virginia colleges. It affects school teachers, et cetera.
In response to that, I assume that if you have fewer teachers in a school, that means that they have the same number of students, that the productivity essentially has increased because you've increased the number of students that are sitting in that class.
Republicans seized on this testimony, suggesting North Carolina faces huge financial problems if Conover's predictions are even half true.
If you are wrong by 50%, North Carolina faces an economic Armageddon anyhow. And unless we face these problems with objectivity and without emotion, we're going down a road that could lead us to a real financial problem. Is that about right?
Well, I am concerned about the direction we're headed, and it remains to be seen how all this plays out in Washington.
Democrats counter that North Carolinians are signing up for health insurance in spite of North Carolina's refusal to expand Medicaid. They say the Tar Heel state is the 5th highest state for insurance enrollments.
Over 200,000 North Carolinians have enrolled. This is over 1/2 of the eligible population. Yet, over 500,000 citizens will remain without coverage because the Republican General Assembly voted and the governor signed legislation not to expand Medicaid.
So what will happen when or if federal health care law is applied in North Carolina without delays and temporary exemptions? So far, the early answers and predictions are falling along partisan political lines and giving cause to call state legislative hearings, which you'll hear about concerns the state isn't doing enough for health care or is preventing our state's financial ruin. Kelly McCullen reporting for North Carolina Now.